Hello, everyone. Welcome to our ATC hiring event. We are so glad you are here. We have a great show in store for you today. We're going to be doing a Q&A at the end of the session, but first we're going to hear from some folks who are in the position or are running the academy and all of the HR folks who are looking at your applications. So we will be able to answer hopefully any question that you have. But first, while we wait for folks to join, let us know where you're from. I'm reporting live from outside of Washington, D.C. And if you feel like it, you can put it in the chat. Are there any parents or students out there? We'd love to know who's joining us tonight. Any kids, people from the CTI schools? Hey, Jordan from Houston, Orlando. All right. Arkansas. Oh, my goodness. Daytona Beach, Baltimore, right around the road. Philly, LA, oh my gosh, everybody is from all over. This is great. Arizona, New York, Tucson, Upper Michigan. Wow, we're so happy that you're here. So before we get started, we wanted to show you a quick video about what makes this career so exciting and fulfilling. And it is a video of a real ATC save.
Airman 333, Lima Delta, Fort Pierce Tower.
I've got a serious situation here. My pilot has gone incoherent. I have no idea how to fly the airplane.
I immediately told him to start descending, and I told him to keep his wings level because I knew he wasn't a pilot, and I was just trying to keep things simple for him.
And I said, what we're going to do is bring you to Palm Beach, big runway, but we'll have emergency vehicles there for you, and it'll be a lot easier for you. At the end of the day, I feel like I was just doing my job, but it was just at a higher level than you ever thought you had to do it.
So that was a real life story of an ATC save. And before I introduce the panel, I am going to do a quick housekeeping. We will have a Q&A session at the end, but you're free to put your questions in that little Q&A box at any time. For those of you who might be joining us on YouTube, just use that YouTube chat and we will bring your questions over into Zoom for our panelists. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce one of our panelists. We have Bob Molden here from, where are you? There's Bob. All right, come on up, Bob. Tell us a little bit about yourself and yeah.
Thank you, Leslie. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Molden. I'm the director of the FAA Academy, and I'm excited to join you tonight. A little bit about my background. I began my career in air traffic control in 1988 with the United States Air Force, and have been with the FAA since 2000. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to work in virtually every position in the field, from controller to facility manager and everything in between, from Grand Forks to Daytona Beach. Prior to becoming the director of the Academy, I served as the branch manager for air traffic and training at the Academy, where I oversaw the day-to-day instruction of air traffic controllers. At the Academy, we are proud to be the launch point for nearly every air traffic controller's career, and we believe that safety in the national airspace system starts with us. Our goal is to equip new controllers with essential skills they need to thrive using a blend of simulation, classroom instructions, and practical hands-on training. For those of you exploring a career in air traffic control, we're excited to see your interest and look forward to being part of your journey. Thank you for joining us today and considering this rewarding career.
Well, thank you, Bob, and I hope you'll stick around to answer some questions about the Academy as we get farther into the show.
I will.
Great, thanks. Up next, we are going to introduce our air traffic controllers and managers. So if they could turn their cameras on, we've got Saja and Andrea, Josh, and Jamal. All right. And if you could just introduce yourself. So let's start with Josh.
So hi, everybody. I'm glad everybody could join us. I'm excited to be here myself. I've got about 17 years in the agency. I've been all over the country. I first started in New Orleans, then shout out to my guys down there in Fort Pierce. I spent some time down there, then moved out to Kansas City. So go Chiefs. I saw somebody from St. Louis there. And then from there, I spent some time in Kansas City, then moved to Jacksonville, and now I'm what they call as a air traffic watch officer out here in beautiful Virginia at the command center. My cohort there, Jamal, him and I also work together. Been doing it now for a little over a year, and I absolutely love it. It's a great job, guys. All I can tell you is you're going to have a lot of fun, and the possibilities are endless.
Thank you so much, Josh. And speaking of Jamal, let's throw it over to you.
Salutations. My name is Jamal. I got my start actually in the military, in the Air Force. In the FAA, I started off at Albuquerque Center. I went from Albuquerque Center as a controller to Memphis Center as a controller. Then I got involved in management at Memphis Center. Then I went to Boston Center, back to Memphis Center, Memphis Approach, and now I'm at the FAA Command Center as a JTOC air traffic specialist, where I work with Joshua.
Thanks, Jamal. All right, over to Saja and Andrea.
Hello, my name is Saja and this is Andrea. I started my FAA career in 2015 from an off-the-street hire, like the one that is currently open, the bid. After being successful at the Academy, my first facility was Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It's a level 7 up-down. Certified there, and now I'm in Oklahoma City, Will Rogers.
My name is Andrea. I got my initial training in the Navy. I got out, I worked for a federal contract tower. It's kind of a subcontractor from the FAA while I was waiting to get hired. I was hired by the FAA in 2008. I spent all of my time at Lincoln, Nebraska Air Traffic Control Tower up until June of last year. I transferred to Will Rogers Airport here in OKC, and I'm currently training in the radar portion.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Okay, so we have a few questions for our air traffic controllers. First of all, do you have any advice for the folks who are applying for this position?
Take it.
All right. Be patient. It is a process. It's going to be frustrating at times. It's going to be worth it. And we talked about honesty.
Yeah. Be honest and forthcoming while you fill out the application. It is the government. They will eventually find out. Don't leave anything out. And yeah, apply.
Yeah, like she said, don't leave anything out. And if you're scared, is this going to affect me? They're going to find out. And if it's something that needs to be brought up in a background investigation, they're going to ask you about it. Just be honest and just please stay patient.
I love that. Yes, patience is the key sometimes for this process. So what, Saja, what led you to the career in air traffic control? Why did you choose it?
This is a funny, and I'll make it quick, story. I was working at an FBO in college on a night shift, and a few of my friends said, "Oh, the new ATC bid is out. You should apply. And I said, "Oh, I don't want to do that." Right, because I wanted to run the Port Authority. I'm from New York. I said aviation management. That's what my background was in. That's what my degree was going to be in. And I applied, and I was the only one of about 20 people who got the green check mark. And here I am in a fulfilling career. Very happy that they made me do it. Very thankful to my friends that they made me do it. It's not what I expected it to be. It's even better.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you picked it. So mine is, it's such a silly story. I was in the Navy. I was on deployment in the Middle East. It was summertime there. It was hot. We had a general quarters drill, gas mask. I was a cook at the time on the ship. So I could cook for 3,000 of my closest friends 3 times a day. And we had gas masks on, and they had shut off all the ventilation in the galley, but we still had to cook for the crew. They were still going to have to eat when the drill was over. So we were in there just melting. And a friend of mine came through the chow line wearing a sweater. And I was like, where have you been? What is happening? She was like, oh, our spaces are chilly. I was like, you guys have ventilation? She said, yeah, we have to have air conditioning for our equipment to stay cool. I said, what do you do? She said, I'm an air traffic controller. And I was like, Chief, I want to do that. I was like, I don't know. I don't even know what it is, but if they have air conditioning all the time, I'm down. And I love it. Best decision ever. Yeah.
Who knew climate control would lead to such
I mean,
a fulfilling job?
everybody's got their things, you know?
I'm going to jump over to some of our managers for a question. So let's talk about the academy. What would you say they can expect when they get to the academy to start their training? Josh, you want to take that one?
Sure. So it's been a little while for me for the academy, but I remember going out there and the same advice that I give to a lot of new hires that come into our building that are just beginning this process, like some of you might be, is you need to take it serious. It's not a party time. It's a time for you to focus. You have a short period of time over there to get your fundamentals. That is key because when you go to your facility, wherever you get assigned, it becomes an extremely detail oriented. Your trainers will pick up on if that you were serious when you're in the academy and you were studying. Whether you go to a tower, if you know your aircraft characteristics, if you know your terminology and phraseology, all that stuff. Also, when you get there, again, besides paying attention, make time to take care of yourself. You need to be able to de-stress at times as well. It is a very stressful process. We all succeeded and made it through. You can too. But at the same time, it's a very serious process. These are your fundamentals. This is where you got to start. Everything you're going to learn in your career is going to be built there. So from there, you just keep growing, get a good group of people around you. Study groups are big out there. They're essential really to being successful. And also help work on your teamwork and be able to go back and forth with each other with the same phraseology and understanding. Other than that, take it serious, but take care of yourself and go out there and give it 100% because this job is well worth it. No, it's not a job, it's a career. And for a lot of people, it's a calling and it's a true passion. So
that's very true. And free training, we might want to reinforce, right? And so Saja and Andrea, would you agree with the teamwork and studying and that experience at the academy?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And when you progress through life, you're in your teens, it's high school, it's college, it's whatever degree you're working on. But I can honestly say I've been through again all of those things in life, and that was the hardest thing I ever went through. You have to lean on each other, your classmates, you have to study. You spend most of your day, studying and becoming prepared for tests, evals, etc. But it is more than worth it. And like he said, you have to also find a way to decompress, and that is true too in the field. So what makes you happy? Is it coloring? Is it art? Is it going to live music? But you have to be disciplined enough to know when you need a break and when you need to continue studying. So
yeah, for sure. And don't overdo it too. That would be my advice too. If you want to study for an hour, make sure that you're taking breaks too, and I'm not saying like go out and party the night away. I studied for a whole hour, but make sure that you're taking time to decompress. You need to be able to process the information that you've gone over and put that the more you go over it, and if you break it up into smaller increments, it kind of adds it to your long-term memory. And that's super important for this job because a lot of it is repetition. A lot of the things that we say in there's standard phraseology that everyone uses, whether you're in the tower environment, the radar environment, terminal, or en route. It's standard phraseology across the board. So if you can get the basics down, it just becomes repetitive and you're just saying the same thing to a different aircraft.
Yeah, and the last thing that I'll add is once you are in the week of your evals, it's like studying for a test the night before. Your brain isn't going to learn that information that quickly. So make sure you get what you need to know before that last week. And that last week should consist of, eating correctly, breakfast, dinner, and good rest, hydration, stuff like that. That will fuel your body for success. You're not going to learn it the night before. So there's no such thing as cram studying in this when you get to evals because you've already been here for 3 to 4 months, depending on which program you've been chosen for. So treat your body right.
I think that's great advice. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Jamal, do you have anything to add about the academy experience, about being successful, not washing out?
I would say that to piggyback on what everyone else is saying, when you're learning, so prior to air traffic control, as she was saying, I could cram for a test. But this is different because you're preparing for your career. So when you're preparing for your career, the way I had to learn for air traffic control is that I had to study the information for application. So they're talking about phraseology and things of that nature. A traffic call. A traffic call says traffic, the clock position, mileage, so on and so forth. So if a trainer asks you what is a traffic call is when you give traffic between two aircraft and break it down. But you should be able to say traffic 12 o'clock, 5 miles southwestbound, T37 4000. So when you're reading it, you have to read some of this stuff to be able to apply it. So just reading it off the paper doesn't always do it justice because you have to apply everything you're learning. But I don't want to overwhelm anybody. I will say that I've been at multiple facilities, and what I can say about the FAA is that you are prepared so you can do your job. So you're going to get the training you need so that you can be successful in every aspect of it. You're going to have the tools, you're going to have the resources so that you can be successful in the career. It's all on you. How much do you want to put into it? So, I mean, like, you have some great tidbits that we have given you, but it's about how bad I was hungry. I'm hungry. I was hungry. I had to eat. So at the end of the day, I told my family, hey, I can't talk to y'all for these months. No, I won't be there for Thanksgiving. I will not. I'll be in Oklahoma City. So it just depends on you and how important it is to you. Even when you get into the field, when you get to whatever facility, some people might be able to go back home. And when you go back home, with all that being said, like say you're training, you have to study, you're learning different areas, different sectors. And at that point, the family might be having to get together on that weekend. I'm not going to make it. I won't be
You're
there.
a different kind of hungry.
Right.
Thank you so much, Jamal. And just before we wrap up on this section, because I do want to move to the HR stuff and eligibility, we're getting a lot of questions about that. Sasha and Andrea, what is your favorite part of your job? What gets you up in the morning?
Wow, that was a curveball.
Yeah, that
wasn't on the pre-approved list. That's fine.
Hold on a second.
My favorite part of air traffic control. So we're
Yes,
an
what do
elite.
you like about your job?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is the question.
It's an elite profession.
Mm-hmm.
There are not many people in the world who do this job.
Yeah.
Or career, as we should call it. And again, it's not a job if you love it. So that is one thing. And one thing that I do, and I started this at Harrisburg, if I had a quote unquote bad day at work or in training, which means it just, it was a lot because training is not easy. I would drive past the terminal. You could leave work usually one of two ways. And depending on what building you work in, you can drive past the terminal. And when you drive past the terminal and see the embrace of people in front of the terminal, hugs, kisses, loved ones, and you say, I helped bring these people together, there is no greater feeling. It really does warm you through and you go, all right, this is my why.
There's a lot, like each aircraft is like a piece to a puzzle, and you're trying to get all the pieces in the right places at the right time. And sometimes it's not always perfect. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes we have a messy day. But at the end of the day, you look back at it and you look at the accomplishments like, man, that was really difficult. I successfully did it. I kept everyone safe. Like Sasha said, the families greeting their loved ones after their trip, I helped keep them safe. I might have, worked a little harder than I needed to do that. But like she said, it's an extremely small career field. I love the camaraderie that we have. And then if Sasha's in the tower struggling with something, or it gets a little busy, any single one of us can jump in and help. If I'm in training and they're like, there might be another person saying, hey, this technique works for me in the radar room. We don't have to get along in our day-to-day lives or hang out outside of work, but together when we're at work, we're all a team. We all have the same goal. And I think that's probably my favorite part about it. We all have the same end goal. And I don't know. And aviation, the aviation community itself is extremely small, and it's really rewarding. I've made lots of friends in the aviation community, you know, all of us aviation nerds coming together and becoming real life friends, you know, it's pilots and other controllers from other facilities. And it's really rewarding. That was a lot. Sorry.
It's very compelling. I wish I was still of age to apply. Well, thank you all. You can go ahead and turn your cameras off until we come back to the Q&A. I hope that was interesting for all of you, and now you are ready to apply. And so in that light, I would like to invite our HR folks to turn their cameras on. We've got Allison Wint, Jada Walker, and Heather Bernook. Okay. So if you just a quick intro, what you do, where you are. Allison, go first.
Hi, I'm Allison Wint. I am the branch manager over aviation careers, the air traffic team. So our team is the one who, once the air traffic organization makes their selections, we're the ones that process you until you get to the academy training. I've been here for about 22 years, and every day is different. It's fast-paced, and we love it.
Thank you, Allison. We'll go in first name alphabetical order. Heather, you are up.
Well, thank you. It really pays to be H, nice and in the middle, either end you start from, you get there. Heather Bernook, the Executive Director for HR Services. I get to oversee all of the hiring for FAA, but controller hiring is my favorite. Really love doing this. Have been in and out of it from the ATO side, the air traffic organization, and lots of different job opportunities, even have gotten to do some work in Japan and overseas, all for FAA. So it's a great place to be, and lots of opportunity, but certainly be a controller first if you can.
Yes. And last and definitely not least, Jada.
Hello, my name is Jada Walker. I am an HR specialist in aviation careers. Allison is my supervisor. I review all of the applications and I work the process from start to finish, qualify applicants and onboard applicants. So like Allison and Heather said, there's never a dull moment on this side.
Never a dull moment. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And we are getting a bunch of questions in the chat. If for the folks who have questions for the Q&A, go ahead and put them in the Q&A widget. You should see it down there. It has a 35, a red 35 on it. Because we've got 35 questions. Oh, maybe you won't see that, but yeah, there's a little question mark in a box if you could put them in there. But in the meantime, we're going to get to some of our panel questions. So first of all, what are the application requirements? I've seen a lot of people asking about that. Who wants to take that one?
I'll take it. So the general requirements for the application is 1 year of full-time work experience, and that's defined by a 40-hour work week, or a 4-year course of study leading to a bachelor's degree, or a combination of the two. Those are the general work qualifications. There's also, you must be able to speak English clearly, and you must be a U.S. citizen. And if you are male, you must have registered for the Selective Service.
Excellent, thank you. And where can interested candidates apply?
I will also take that one. You can apply at usajobs.gov. That is the only place you can apply. If you go to the BATC website, there's a link directly to the vacancy announcement.
And I also put the link, to FAA.gov, the BATC page, which is kind of a one-stop shop for a bunch of different resources. So feel free to visit that, and the link to the application is on there. All right. So we did change some of the requirements. So let's talk, can high school students apply? Heather?
Absolutely. So, I see Michaela has asked, I'm trying not to look at all the questions because I want to answer them all right away. Michaela's asked, how long does this take? Gosh, best case scenario, it's 6 to 10 months. And that's why Andrea said, be patient, because there are a lot of steps you have to take and you'll be guided through them. But it's a great time to apply. If you've been doing any volunteer work, working during the summers, working part-time after school, and you've got a year that you can piece together, which answers Charlene's any field, anything. This can be Whataburger, Kohl's, volunteering at church, mowing lawns, babysitting, all of that. And so chances are, if you're a high school senior, you've done that, or you might be getting dual credit. Those credits from an accredited college or university count. Piece it all together, add your documents, add your transcripts, but you'll have plenty of time to graduate from high school. In fact, we've added a special box or question to the application to make sure we're going to process non-high school first, and then we'll turn to high school. You'll have plenty of time to graduate. Keep making life plans. Don't put all your eggs in this basket, but put your name in the hat now.
So book that summer trip abroad if that's in your plans.
Yeah, do all the things that you would normally do. Plan to apply to college if that's what you want to do. Just keep going with life, which somebody earlier, I think it was Chris, maybe had said, hey, daughter's graduating with an associate's degree. Still apply now. You've got plenty of time. Keep going with life, but apply now.
Thank you so much. All right. I think we got most of those questions. We're going to have a lot more for you when that Q&A rolls around, as we can see. I wanted to invite Steve Becker up to talk about security requirements. Steve, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Steve Becker. I'm the Division Manager for Personnel Security Intake. I work for the Office of Security and Hazardous Materials, located in New York. My team actually is the team that will be your initial contact once you get to the security point. And as Saja and Andrea said earlier, make sure you answer the questions, make sure you answer them as honestly as possible, because we will find out if there's an issue in your background. So primarily, I'll just give you a few things that you'll need once you apply, and once you get to the point of filling out an SF-86, which is the form that has the background questionnaire. And basically, you're going to need to know list of all the places that you lived for the last 10 years, dates, addresses, contact of someone who knew you at the address, any schools that you attended up to 10 years previous, the years, dates, addresses, any degrees, diplomas, dates earned your degree, the school addresses, the employment history up to 10 years. You're going to need dates, position titles, employer name and address, supervisor contact, work address, email, phone number, anything that can help us reach somebody at that employment. Also, you're going to need to have your selective service registration if you're a male. You're going to need to know your number for that. That's an easy lookup online if you don't have it. You're going to need to provide contacts, 3 people who have known you well for the last 7+ years, not a relative or a spouse. You're going to need their names, the dates that you've known them, email, phone number, any spouses, ex-spouses, cohabitants. You're going to need the names, any aliases, the date and place and birth of those folks. The same with your parents, your mom, your dad, your step-parents, siblings. These are all type of information that you're going to need to gather in order to complete the form.
So Steve, when will they need to have this data collected?
So your initial contact with security will come after you receive a clearance instruction letter from Human Resources. And in that, you'll see, I guess you'll get notified that there'll be 2 messages that are going to come from the security division. And basically, those 2 messages, the first one is going to require you to go get your fingerprints taken. And then once you get your fingerprints taken, and we have that in our possession, we'll send you the second email, which will be an invite to fill out the SF-86 form and to complete the questionnaire. You'll also have to sign a form releasing information for your credit report at that time as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, so you don't have to have all of this information to apply. This is part of the next step. And Jada, can you just talk a little bit about that timeline? So after you apply, what happens next?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So once you apply, we do have time to rate the applications. We either qualify, I'm sorry, not qualify. We either qualify or exclude applicants. And once that's done, then you will receive an invite to take the ATSA test. And that's the Air Traffic Skills Assessment Test. There's typically a 30-day window to schedule and complete the test. Once the test is completed, then the results are processed. At that time, if you qualify, you will be referred to the ATO and they make selections at that point. Once selections come back to us, then TOLs are sent out, which are the tentative offer letters, and that starts the process for HR to get you in the process. You will need to complete some forms, and that's where we'll issue the CIL after we receive and review those forms. And then once we issue your CIL, you have to receive a medical clearance, pass your drug test, and receive your security clearance before you're referred back to HR. Once you refer to us, we will issue you a start date email and place you in the next available class. And then you will receive your FOL. Once you receive your FOL, you will receive a few more documents to complete prior to onboarding, but then we will onboard you in what we call NDOC. And once you come on board, you're here in Oklahoma City.
I love it. So for those of us who don't know what the acronyms stand for, FAA is notorious for our acronyms. The letter that you receive, what's it, the FOL?
Oh, the firm offer letter. I'm so sorry. The FOL is your firm offer letter. The CIL is your clearance instruction letter.
I think one practical thing to keep in mind if you're trying to gauge like, oh, should I have heard something by now? Don't even look for word until the end of January, beginning of February. That's going to be the first time that you're really going to find out, hey, am I going to ATSA testing? We think that's going to be about March-ish, April-ish, right? So this is why we say apply. You got plenty of time, live your life.
Thank you, Heather. And I think we do have a few folks who applied in the previous application cycle and were asking about the timeline. So it can take a while.
Yeah, I'll take that one. So I like to try and explain that. People who have lived maybe 5 places in their life versus maybe 20. There's nothing wrong with either scenario. However, it's either less or more to investigate. Same thing for medical. If you don't take any prescription medication or you have some prescribed medication that you take, again, nothing wrong with either scenario. But again, it is still more for medical to review and make their determinations on. So there is no standard timeline as far as how long the process takes. Again, to state what's already been mentioned, be patient. It is worth it. And we get clearances daily. And we either place those individuals the same day or the next day into academy classes. We are constantly receiving clearances and placing people in class. So just be patient.
Thank you so much, Allison. And speaking of medical, I'd like to invite Dr. Elliott up to talk about some of that medical process.
Thanks. I was just typing an answer to a question there. So I'm Jim Elliott. I'm the physician manager of the virtual hiring team. We do the medical, psychological, and drug testing. I did 24 years in the Air Force, 19 of those as a flight surgeon, and I've been with the FAA for about 12 years, first as the deputy regional flight surgeon for the central U.S. in Kansas City, and then I've been managing the virtual hiring team since about 2018. And I'm also an instrument-rated pilot. So I will echo what you heard from Steve on security, that when we ask you medical questions, please be honest with us, because we do find out. There are only a few conditions, seizure disorders, schizophrenia, that we can't clear. Many other conditions we can find a way around to give you a waiver, what we call special consideration. About 25% of applicants don't meet the medical standards, and about 15% of applicants get a special consideration. We only disqualify about 1 in 10. So, and the most common reason for that is because you don't give us the information we need to give you special consideration. So if we ask for information, we need that. We actually have a pretty rigid protocol for this condition. We need these items to be able to give you a waiver. So if we ask for it, please get that to us. We'll do our best to get you a waiver. And unfortunately, if I have to disqualify you, I don't like doing that, but there's times we have to do that and understand that. But, our job is to generate applicants. So we want to find a way to clear you. So help us do that.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Going back to just that honesty, we want to help you if we can. And thank you, Dr. Elliott, for clarifying that. So when we're talking about medications, are there any specific medications that are prohibited or anything that could affect eligibility?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a broad question. I mean, in terms of medications, there are thousands of medications. Some of those seizure medications, and there's a few that we just can't approve. But most common medications are approved, some of them with limitations, but they have to be looked at on an individual basis. In terms of conditions, again, there's a handful of things, as I mentioned, seizure disorder. If you have an implantable defibrillator, if you're schizophrenic, okay, there's not anything we can do to help you there. But otherwise, again, most conditions and most medications we can look at and see if we can't find a way to clear you.
Thank you so much. Well, Dr. Elliott, I hope you stick around for any medical questions we have during the Q&A, unless you have anything you want to add.
No, thank you.
Okay, great. All right, now it is Q&A time, the time that you've all been waiting for. I do see a lot of people putting some questions in the chat. If you could move them over to the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, it has a little question mark and says Q&A. That will make it easier for us to go through so I can read them. All right, so the first question we have, how should we study for the ATSA? Oh boy. Who wants to take that one? Saja?
Andrea?
Okay, so honestly, because I'm old, like let's just say that. So it's been a while. I didn't take what was called the ATSA, the ATSA, but I have seen there are on social media, there's air traffic controller Facebook groups. There's some information in there that you can search, and there's I don't think there's really actually any way you can study for it, but there are helpful things like circulating, and there might be, excuse me, there is ATC subreddits also that might be helpful. They have helpful resources that would help you review questions that might potentially be on that, and they might help you figure out some of the solutions. But
what I remember from the ATSA, it was a lot of tests based on, can you do this and do that? So what's that game? I want to say old game, Concentration.
Oh.
If anybody knows what that card game is, you put out a deck of cards and then you try to match the 9 of hearts with the 9 of hearts and remember where it is. Games like that, puzzles, Sudoku, anything that makes your mind work in different ways than you would stretch your mind every day if you don't do those sort of things. So Concentration was a good game. Memory games, things like that. It's, can you do this math problem and do you remember what color was on the left or right hand screen? Those are the types of tests
perfect
that were on there.
Well, I think that's something they can get started working on tonight. Get ahead
for sure.
The game.
Yeah, definitely.
That's great. Great advice. Thank you. The next question we have is, how often do you get to move facilities?
This depends. It depends.
Okay, all right, we're gonna just take this one too.
We'll just go. Let's just go with it. We're doing it.
There are different processes to move within the National Airspace System as an air traffic controller. The one is called an ERR, and oh my goodness, with the acronyms, I'm not. What is that?
Employee relocation request.
Okay, good job.
That's how I got here.
Reassignment, but yeah, any type of
makes the dream work. So that's one option as well. And basically, depending on your facility staffing and the facility staffing you're trying to get to, there is a big equation that the FAA and NATCA, National Air Traffic Controllers Association Union, have collaborated and agreed upon to make say yes or no to your move request. So it really just depends on what facility you're at, how your staffing is, and then the staffing of the facility that you're trying to go to as well.
Your initial facility, you may not, honestly, if you're from Fargo, North Dakota, and they don't need people there, you may not get that on your selection list. You know, the closest you may get is you could go to someplace like Chicago. You could end up somewhere in Florida. You could end up in Arizona. It just depends on the needs, I think, of the agency at the time as well, and which facility you're picked for. There's terminal and en route. And the terminal environment is basically the air traffic control towers and the terminal radar control, which is ground-based radar systems. Some facilities are separate towers and some are separate radar. And then some of them are combined, like here at Will Rogers, we're up down, which is the air traffic control tower and the ground-based radar control. And what we do is we work the aircraft from the ground up to, we have 15,000 feet here. And from there, the center takes over, and that's all the en route traffic that's flying across the country. And there's what, 26?
Yeah, so
Centers.
if we go back to the question, it depends. You only have a certain amount of centers you
Yeah.
can go to if you're chosen for center, and then a certain amount of towers or
Yes.
TRACONs you can go to depending on what you get chosen from in your initial TOL, FOL facility.
All of the letters.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We're going to give our controllers a break from talking, and for our HR folks, do you need an aviation related degree to have a good chance at this position?
I can answer that. You do not. You do not. We accept all accredited universities. You don't even have to have a degree because we also do combination. So we just want you to apply, no matter if your degree is in HR, but ideally we want you to be an air traffic controller, please.
Bob.
Yeah. You know, I go in and talk to a lot of the new hire classes. And I always ask them, what'd you do before this? And then see how successful they are. We've had bartenders, we've had fishmongers, we've had, you name it, we've had it. The background really doesn't matter. If they can think in 3D, perform well under pressure, they're going to be successful.
Thank you so much, Bob. That is really good data to compare ourselves to. All right. We do have a few folks asking, like, what happens, you know, if you're not hearing anything back and about reapplying? Should they submit more than one application? Allison.
I'll take that one. Yeah, absolutely. You can submit that application, or you can reach out directly to Aviation Careers at area code 405-954-4657. I'll put that in the chat. And you can also request to speak to either myself or Miss Jada Walker. And we will be happy to check your status on the previous application as well.
That's great advice. So yeah, before you go through the whole process, it wouldn't hurt to reach out to Allison or Jada to see what your application status is.
The spam folder, who knows where it went? And if you ever find out that your score is qualified on the ATSA, take it again. You need to be well qualified.
That was a pro tip, Heather. Thank you.
Yes.
So, all right. After the academy, how do they determine which positions you'll be training in? Does prior military qualifications, does that play a factor in anything?
I can answer that one. So after the academy, if they're meaning like what facility they're going to, the ATO at the final exam, they have a list, and it's based off the needs of the FAA. You score the highest, you get the first selection off the list. You get to make your decision. After that, it just trickles down from there based on the scores. Does prior military qualification play a factor in this decision? It does not. It is based off that final exam score once you successfully complete the academy.
So,
And I would just like to add, the ATO did put a new process in place for those facility assignments upon successful completion of academy training. And there are a lot more facilities available these days. And that began, I believe, in June.
Thank you, Allison. Jamal, what do you have to add?
On a separate bid, the direct hire for military, that's where your military bases and stuff come into play. But just this one, that's not what this was about. If you're going direct hire, that's when it matters where you were stationed at.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and we can put the link if anybody needs it for that direct military hire application. That's different, like Jamal said, than the open hiring. All right. Oh, what's the difference between en route and terminal? I always say that wrong because I'm from Pittsburgh. En route and en route and terminal.
I can go
I can
for
take
that.
this one. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, I was just going to say, common way I like to explain it's been explained to people. En route, if you want to think about it, is like the highways of the sky, your interstate, the high altitudes, usually above 15,000 feet, because there's some TRACONs out there that 15,000 feet and below. Terminal would be more of your large city streets, roads. Tower, if you want to think about it, would be like your county city roads, your smaller roads. And it just kind of builds out like an upside down cake, so to speak. As you start down at the tower, you've got your smaller area, 3 to 5 mile radius, maybe up to 3,000 feet, maybe a little less. Then you've got your TRACON, which then is a little bit higher, a little bit wider, 60 to 80 miles. Larger airspace, funneling planes in, departing them back out. Then you've got your en route, which is going to be over top of all of those, and they're going to take them from point A to point B, and then they're going to start the process right back again, go right to the TRACON, sequence them to land, down to the tower, to the ground. And it's just it's a great little cyclone system.
That's a really good way to visualize
Very
it.
complex, very complex.
Okay.
Towers look out the window and control traffic, and the TRACONs are shortly outside of the towers, and en route is big airspace outside that. Surface to infinity, the en route.
I like to add, so just using that 3-tier upside down wedding cake, that's what I like to do. So, a lot of us are visual learners. We flip that 3-tier wedding cake upside down. Like he explained, tower, TRACON, the middle piece, and then en route. As far as if you visualize it when you're in an aircraft going to a destination, for those of you who have flown, once you're at the gate on the ground, once you get pushed back from the gate and you're taxiing to the runway and being cleared for takeoff, that's your terminal environment. That's your tower. Once you get cleared for takeoff, they switch you to another controller. That's the TRACON part. And they're climbing you up to the flight levels, we call it. That is the en route portion, the biggest tier of the cake. And in the flight, when they go ding, and you can move about the cabin, and you can take off your seatbelt, that's when en route is working you. Now,
Perfect.
when they say, oh, we're in our final descent, we're going now back through the TRACON. We put that seatbelt back on. We can't have drinks. Put your tray tables up. You know what I mean? Buckle up, because you're going to go back to the TRACON.
Yes.
And then you're going to go back to the tower. So adding to that beautiful explanation is what we experience on the civilian side when we travel with air traffic controllers.
And now you all have some trivia the next time you fly. When that bell dings, you'll say, oh, I know who's controlling this airspace now. All right, that was very helpful. Thank you. All right, we have a few questions about, out of high school, how can I compete with college graduates? Who wants to take that one?
Me, the title part. This is aptitude. Just get in there and do it. In fact, younger, sprier mind, right? Use it to your advantage. Work hard. Get in there.
I'm just a high school graduate and I was a cook and I could do this job. So get out there. Yeah, for sure.
Like 26% of controllers actually have a bachelor degree or higher. You don't need the degree. This is aptitude. Again, get in there, be you, do it.
Thank you. Yep, it all comes down to how well you do on that test. And so how long is the training, and is it paid training?
Is that question about the academy or complete total?
Yes, at the academy. Do you want to take that, Bob?
I will. It is paid training. You get your salary and you get per diem for meals and incidentals and hotels. But the length of the training depends. If you're in the en route option, you have basics, which is 19 work days, and the en route class is 59 work days. So you're there about 4 months. If you're lucky enough to get in 90 and go to the Tetra Path, you'll be in Oklahoma City for about 4 months. And if you get the terminal tower option with basics and the tower class, you'll be there about 2.5 months. And then the new program aimed at mid-level facilities, the IQ TR, that's going to start in January. You'll be in Oklahoma City for a little over 3 months.
Thank you so much, Bob.
You're welcome.
All right, our next question. In relation to Heather mentioning it can take 6 to 10 months for the process, how does that affect those who are close to hitting that upper age limit for qualification?
I like that one. So you just have to be under that maximum entry age of 31 as of the closing date of the vacancy. You have to be under age 31 as of that close date. And even if you turn 31 the day after the vacancy closes, you can still continue in the hiring process. So you can we'll still rate your application. You can still go take the ATSA test, get referred. If the ATO selects you, you can continue the clearance requirements and be hired and go to the academy.
So much. All right. So we have a few questions about part-time work and how that's calculated. Does it count?
It does count. I'll take that one too. It is prorated based off of a 40-hour work week. And so the requirement is 1 year of full-time work experience. So based on that 40-hour work week. So part-time hours will be calculated off of that.
Sneaking in a yes to Dylan, apply high school. You don't have to be 18. Again, there's a process here. You need that year of work or volunteer and or college.
That's right. All right. How many controllers are being hired during this round or right now?
But a pantomime it with my hands. See if you get, no, I'm just kidding. 24. Well, minimum of 2,000. We're going to hire above that though, if we can. And next year it's 2,400. We need a lot of folks, a lot of controllers for a long time. So it's a great time to be applying.
Yes.
Yeah, I think when Saja applied, it was a little bit more competitive for those spots, right? Yeah, so it is a great time to become an air traffic controller. Okay, I'm looking for some more questions. About can we talk a little bit about assignments and how, I guess we did cover how assignments were made.
Honestly, there was a lot in the chat though about, well, what if my spouse, do we have spousal consideration? And wondered if maybe Allison or one of our controllers could talk to us a little bit about how that works, because I saw several along those lines.
We definitely have spousal accommodation for individuals who are already controllers. If their spouse applies and is selected, then yes, they will be placed either at the same facility or one within a local commuting distance of their spouse. So yes, we do have that.
Chase had asked earlier, like, can my spouse live with me while I'm at the academy? Yeah, yes. It's fine. Bring them to Oklahoma. Let them enjoy the bounties of Oklahoma.
Exactly. Perfect. What's the entry level GS grade? What's the GS grade level for ATC entry level?
Yeah, 3. That's when you're at the academy. But again, you're paid and your housing's paid, your food's paid, and yes, it qualifies, Eric, for public student loan forgiveness.
And that is, like Heather said, that is also only while you're at the academy. Your pay increases as you go through the developmental levels at the facility.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And trainees that have military experience that have the GI Bill can get some of those GI benefits while they're in training as well.
Thank you. All right. Oh, shifts, non-standard shift schedules. What are your thoughts on them that you may have experienced as a controller?
This is our jam.
So that's one of the things we did not bring up when it comes to work-life balance. That's one of the things you're going to really have to sit down and explain to your friends and family from the very beginning. So first and foremost, we bid around this time of year, both our RDOs, regular day off, for the next year now. So right now, we're bidding our RDOs, regular days off, for next year, and our leave for next year right now. So I always tell my family and friends, hey, if you have something that you know about, wedding, etc., tell me now, because I have to put in for that leave. As far as shift work, different facilities are very different. The schedule a building can create is based on how well staffed the building is. There are some buildings that have straight overnight shifts. There are some buildings that you can work straight night shifts, day shifts. There are some buildings that rotate. What the average controller schedule looks like, I will say, is what we call the 2-2 split day. And that is anywhere from a 3 to 11 shift on your first day, that's nighttime, 2 to 10 second day. Third day can be we call banker's hours, 10 to 6, 9 to 5, 8 to 4. Fourth day, a day shift, anywhere from 5:30 start to about 7 a.m. And then some of us work on that same day, a midnight shift. Now, the FAA and NACA have recently collaborated on fatigue MOU, which has changed the way we can build our shift guidelines due to time in between shifts. So it's going to look different wherever you are in initial and beginning of your training, depending on your building. Some towers will have you work Monday through Friday banker's hours because that's where the traffic is. Some buildings like centers, you'll bid a line, which is what I just said previously, where I'm off Sunday, Monday next year, and you're going to work the same schedule as your trainers. Now, until you get certified, you will not work mid shifts unless you get Memphis Center, because Memphis Center midnight shifts are busy. FedEx is based there, so their traffic is there.
That is a lot of traffic.
So it just depends, but in the beginning, you can either expect that schedule that I clearly detailed for you, or some sort of banker's hours to see traffic. It just really depends on what facility you get to.
And also, some of the facilities, like here at Will Rogers, we're 24 hours. The facility I left in Lincoln, Nebraska was open 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. It used to be 5:30 to midnight, and I'm going to tell you that extra 2.5 hours of sleep was amazing. So not every facility, the smaller facilities aren't going to be 24 hours. Sometimes the towers close, the Traycon takes over that airspace for the night. It is the smaller ones generally that are not 24 hours. So your shifts are going to look different there as well. But like Saja said, we call it the Rattler, and it's, evenings, you taper down into early days. You have to adapt to whatever your schedule is. You will be able to request time off from leave. You're able to change shifts. You can, sometimes you can do split shifts depending on what your shifts are the next day. And again, it's going to be staffing dependent. Sometimes you're able to take 2 hours away from your shift to go, to your kid's Christmas concert or something, or a work presentation for your spouse or a friend or something like that, and then come back and finish out your shift. Again, it depends on the facility and what the staffing is. There are ways to accommodate that. You build up vacation time for pay period depending on how long you've been in the agency. But it is very important that your work-life balance is going to be what you make it. And there you can trade shifts with people. Personally, I love it because I work evenings on Mondays and Tuesdays, so I can do my doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, grocery shopping. I don't want to be out on the weekend when everyone else in the entire country is off on the weekends.
Yeah.
You know, holidays, holiday leave, we get holiday leave if you put in for it. A lot of people like to work those. You get extra pay on holidays, you get extra pay on Sundays. So there's some incentives to do that as well. But yeah, I personally love being able to run errands during the morning when everyone else in the world is at work, and then I don't have to deal with the traffic. And
yeah, I like, I'm off Sunday, Monday, and those are my favorite to be off, just because like she said, I love people, but when it gets too
also you don't
people
want to
in the grocery store, it gets kind of weird. So you can make it work. We're here to tell you, you can make it work.
100%.
You just have to have a plan, and you have to communicate early and often with your family, because I'm telling you right now, February will make a decade for me in the agency. And some people are still like, hey, you want to hang out Tuesday night?
Yeah, for years we had to celebrate Christmas. My kids they're older now, but for years my husband was an air traffic controller as well. And hey, Thanksgiving's going to be on the 23rd this month, because we both are working on Thanksgiving Day. Christmas is going to come 4 days early at our house. It's however we can accommodate that. We do evening Christmas dinners with our big families, and open up gifts to each other then, and then do our own smaller family thing on a different day, so you can adapt.
Yeah.
And
it's all about being fluid.
Yes.
And I think that directly relates to how successful you will be in this career, because it is about adapting, changing, and overcoming. So
your family and your friends are your support system. And it's so important for them to understand that, certain things that you were able to, oh yeah, let's do this, last minute plans. You're not going to be able to do that, depending on what your shifts look like too. And so don't stress yourself out over that,
Thank you so much. We are out of time. I wish we have so many more questions I want to get to, but that's okay, because we have another event tomorrow at 2 p.m. on our Instagram. We're going to have an Instagram live, so you can continue to ask your questions there. And I will put the link in the chat. And if you want help with your application, we do have a application help session. HR will be there to look through your application with you, point out anything that is missing. It's a great opportunity for some one-on-one advice. The last one is on the 4th. So get your application ready and then sign up for that session to get that last review before you hit submit. Thank you all to our panelists for taking time out of the evening to share all of the great stories and advice for our future air traffic controllers. And thank you for attending. We hope to see you around the FAA. And yeah, we'll see you later.